this is Haley from OneOnRabbits.com, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about where to get your pet rabbit. A lot of people ask me this question and I thought I should just make a whole video on it, as I do have personal strong opinions about where someone should get a rabbit, but I also want to include all the facts for you guys so that you can make a proper and educated decision. So I'm going to be talking about all the different places that people do sell rabbits. I'm going to be listing them as different options. However, that doesn't mean I support these options. So I just want to be giving you the facts and telling you where people sell rabbits and whether or not you should get your bunny from there. So the first place is a pet shop. Now, most large pet stores are actually no longer legally allowed to sell pet rabbits. This is because these animals were coming from mass production sites such as rabbit mills, which are completely unethical, and literally rabbits are living in their own filth. They're with hundreds of other rabbits in the same cage. Horrible, horrible situations. So a lot of pet stores, like large pet store chains, they're not legally allowed to sell rabbits. So PetSmart, Petco, stores like this made it illegal. I don't remember how long ago, but because of the unethicalness of where they came from, they have since eliminated that. Pet stores, large pet stores who do still have rabbits in their shops are normally from local animal shelters or local rabbit rescues, which is a very good option because this allows a person to adopt a rabbit versus just buy one from a largely mass-produced place. However, small locally owned pet shops are still allowed to do whatever they wish. A lot of these people either get rabbits from unethical breeders like backyard breeders, or they are getting them from rabbit mills. So you do want to be very, very aware that a lot of the times if you see baby bunnies in a pet shop, these rabbits were not taken care of, they were not being raised in a very good situation. A lot of people ask the question why they shouldn't take that rabbit home and rescue it, but the issue is every time you buy a rabbit from a situation like this, the company is making money off of you, and every time you buy a rabbit, they replace it with another rabbit from that horrible situation. So you're just contributing to the problem of all of these rabbits being like largely, massively bred in horrible situations. So that is why I don't recommend ever getting a rabbit from a pet store unless it's a pet store like Petco or PetSmart that is offering rabbit adoptions from a local shelter. The next option is a backyard breeder. This term is used for any person who is breeding rabbits and don't know what they're doing, even if they think they know what they're doing. A lot of the times this is children breeding rabbits, or even adults breeding rabbits just for extra cash or for meat purposes, anything like that. A lot of the times they honestly don't know what they're doing and they're just throwing two rabbits together, breeding them and having babies. The reason that I do not support getting a rabbit from a situation like this is, one, they do not consider the well-being and the genetics of the rabbit at all. This can be very dangerous because there are situations where you breed certain rabbits and they don't end up surviving because of you didn't take into account their certain genetics or whatever. And also, they are not focused on the health and well-being of the bunny at all. They're simply just looking for extra cash. Another reason that I wouldn't go this route is a lot of the times people in that situation tend to have a lot of bunnies in very poor quality care standards. A lot of the times they're outside in hutches, wire cages. Sometimes they are not even well cared for, cleaned, fed well. So honestly, it's not something you'd ever want to support because those rabbits are not being raised in proper healthy situations. So definitely not an option that I would ever look into personally, just because of the reasons I have listed. The next option is a professional breeder. These are breeders who have researched the breed. A lot of the time they're only breeding one type of rabbit, so whether that's Holland Lops, Dutches, they're only breeding one breed because that's what they researched, that's what they're qualified in breeding. They're definitely a better option than a backyard breeder who doesn't know what they're doing, but I personally still don't recommend this option simply because I have such a heart for rescuing rabbits and going the rescue route. I also believe that I have never seen a breeder who has had the care standards that I personally have. I do have pretty high care standards for rabbits, but a lot of times people at shelters or rescues tend to care for their bunnies fairly well compared to a professional breeder. A lot of the times professional breeders, even if they have like a barn or a shed where their rabbits are staying, a lot of the times their cages are cages. They're tiny, they're small. A lot of the times they do have wire flooring. All of this stuff is just not something I think rabbits should ever be in. So I would never support something like that, and that's why I choose not to go this route. So one of my favorite options is adoption. Adoption is the best option in my mind. I love being able to rescue a rabbit who has come from a bad situation, or maybe just from someone who wasn't able to care for them anymore and turn them into an animal rescue, animal shelter. So I love animal shelters and rescues because even if they are temporarily kept inside of a cage while they're at the rescue or the shelter a lot of the times does look into the potential adopter and make sure they're going to provide a proper home for the rabbit. So I do really like that about that. Obviously, local shelters tend to have a lower standard of care. Some shelters in my state don't even spay and neuter their rabbits before adopting them out, which I don't think is a good thing. I think all rabbits should be spayed and neutered unless medically unable to before they are adopted out. So local shelters tend to have like a lower standard of care, and they sometimes will adopt out to anyone. But I do think that is a better option. Rescues tend to have a higher standard of care. A lot of the times they don't even keep their rabbits in a shelter facility. They keep them out in foster care, which people are loving and caring for these bunnies like their own until they are adopted out. So that is a very good option. I do understand this option is very difficult. I found personally when I was under 21 years old, I had a lot of issues adopting Sterling. That is why I had to go to an animal shelter versus an animal rescue, because I got turned down from a lot of rescues simply because I wasn't 21 years old, which I understand because a lot of younger adults tend to be not very responsible, but I personally was an exception that I feel like I was responsible for caring for a bunny, and they wouldn't even consider me. So I think there can be issues within the rescue and shelter thing, especially age is a big issue. Sometimes you can have your parents adopt the bunny for you, but sometimes that's hard too. So yeah, I do realize there are flaws within the rescue and animal shelter situation. But one of the biggest pros is most often they are already spayed and neutered, which saves you like $400 right off the bat, which is pretty great. So the last option I'm just gonna call rescuing because I don't know what else to call it. But basically it's finding a rabbit who needs a home, but that rabbit isn't currently in a rabbit rescue or in an animal shelter. So this is a very good option, especially if you're having issues, especially with the age restriction. If you're a young adult and you're not able to, adopt a rabbit because they have that age restriction, sometimes this is an easier route to go. Some people on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist have posted animals that they can no longer care for, and you're able to sort of rescue them without having that local shelter to go through. The issue with this is scammers, also creepers, so you have to be careful with that. Another thing is that a lot of backyard breeders use these websites to list their rabbits for sale. Normally you can tell when it's a backyard breeder versus a pet. A lot of the times pet rabbits will either be indoors, pictures of the rabbit playing inside the house. Another thing to look for is a lot of the times backyard breeders tend to have more posed pictures, which means they're forcing the rabbit to stand in a certain position because there are certain positions certain breeds stand in for their, something to do with showing. So that's an easy way to kind of spot a backyard breeder. But I found rabbits on Craigslist very rarely, but I have found some that are already spayed and neutered, and they are looking for a genuine good home for their bunny. So that is an option. If you want to look into that. Another thing is just to ask your friends and family. Sometimes friends of friends are getting rid of their pet bunny, and you can rescue them. So I'm gonna go ahead and share with you where I personally got all of my rabbits, just to kind of, I don't know, I thought it might be interesting for you guys all to hear. So my first rabbit, Mocha, I got actually from technically a backyard breeder. It was my friend having a birthday party. She had bred her bunnies, and I got one of the babies. So technically it was a situation like that. I wasn't very informed. I knew nothing about bunnies back then. So that is where Mocha came from. He was a purebred Holland Lop. A couple months later, I got Lulu. She came from a situation where my sister's friend no longer wanted her because her sister's friend had 2 bunnies. One of them died, and she didn't really like Lulu that much. So she's like, I don't really want her, you can have her. So that's how I got Lulu, kind of just a friend of a friend situation. Ebony, I also got from a friend. Someone came up to me at church and was like, hey, I need to get rid of my rabbit now. Otherwise, we have to let it out free in the backyard, which obviously I didn't want that to happen. So I told her to drop the bunny off at my house, and I was either going to keep her or I would rehome her to a good home. I ended up keeping her. Obviously, I still have Ebony. So again, it was another friend situation. Sterling was the first rabbit I officially adopted, mostly because he was the only rabbit I planned on getting. He was the only one where I was actually actively looking for a pet rabbit. So Sterling I did adopt from an animal shelter. So he was actually my only rabbit who came from a shelter. The next bunny is Belle. She has passed away just like Mocha, but I got her when she was 8.5 years old, and I got her from a coworker from when I was working a retail job. So that's basically where I got all of my rabbits. So I don't want anyone to feel judged by this video. I am not condemning anyone from where they got their pet rabbits. I'm not saying there's one way or the highway. I'm simply stating my personal opinion and then some facts on why I have chosen these opinions. So I hope that made it clear. I don't want anyone to get angry. So obviously I have done things in the past that I probably won't do in the future. I know so many people who previously got their rabbits from breeders or bad situations, and now they currently only adopt. So no one should feel judged about where they got their pet rabbits. I just want to make a video to help lead people in a direction I feel is best, but obviously there are many options, many situations, and I am not anyone to judge anyone for anything. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below where you got your pet rabbit. Obviously I've gotten my rabbits in multiple different ways, so I just kind of think it's interesting where all my rabbits had come from, where other people's rabbits come from. Yeah, that's basically it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope this helps someone who is actively researching and trying to figure out where they want to get their next pet rabbit, or if they've never had a pet rabbit before. So I hope this helped. Go ahead and check out the other videos on my channel if you are looking for more information on rabbits or rabbit care. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to see future videos, and I will see you very soon on a new video. Bye!